Four people go into a mysterious house referred to as Hill House to investigate some weird phenomena going on in there. Let's read The Haunting of Hill House and find out what. Welcome back to BG's Books. I'm Mr. BG, and today we will be reviewing The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. So, this is actually not my first time reading Shirley Jackson. This is my first time reading The Haunting of Hill House, but I've known of Shirley Jackson for a while. Back when I was in middle school, we read her short story, The Lottery, as part of required reading in 8th grade. So I know Shirley Jackson, but I've never read Haunting of Hill House before, until this video, of course. And The Haunting of Hill House reminds me a lot of The Shining, and because The Shining came like quite a bit after, almost 20 years, I'm sure it got a lot of its inspiration from The Haunting of Hill House, even though there's like a whole thing on how it was created and stuff. But anyway, The Haunting of Hill House is just very simple. Four people go into a house to investigate some weird haunting stuff going on, and then some weird haunting stuff goes on. So yeah, the plot is pretty simple, but yeah, it's like your most basic haunted house story, and it was obviously really popular since every haunted house story is like based on The Haunting of Hill House in some way. So it is very short. It's actually just under 200 pages. It's 182 pages, actually. It's very short. It is very good, and it's very iconic. So I guess I should actually explain what The Haunting of Hill House is actually about. So our main character for Haunting of Hill House is a woman named Eleanor Vance. And so she has some history with psychic phenomena happening in her childhood, as well as, I guess, everyone else that does. And she gets a letter from this man named Dr. John Montague, and basically he is a psychic phenomena investigator, and he wants to get to the bottom of what makes Hill House so haunted. So he formally invites a lot of people, but only 3 decide to show up, one of which is Eleanor. And so to go to Hill House, she steals her sister's car, drives a wicked long way, and then ends up at Hill House. And so she thinks she's the only one there for a while, but then this woman named Theodora arrives, and then they become friends and stuff. And then they start to realize that they may or may not be cousins due to something. I don't know. Yeah, that's not really like a major plot point of the book. They just kind of offhandedly mention that they're cousins, so that may or may not be it. Anyway, so then as they're exploring, a guy named Luke shows up, and Luke is important because he's the heir to Hill House. His family kind of owns Hill House for a little bit, and so he's kind of like next in line and stuff, so basically he's gonna get Hill House. Anyway, so the next person to show up is Dr. Montague himself, and so everyone gets acquainted and they're all friends. So after dinner or something, Dr. Montague decides to explain the history of Hill House. Basically, the owner, Hugh Crane, who built it actually, he was purposely designing it to be like crazy and weird and confusing and stuff. And he wanted to share it with his wife and daughters, but his wife never made it in there because she kind of died right before she could get inside the house. And then after he died, his daughters fought over custody of the house. And then, long story short, the older daughter that gay mended herself, her roommate got the rights to the house. And then the younger sister kind of hated the roommate ever since. Anyway, so after that, they just spend like a week in Hill House, like our 4 main characters, and they just kind of witness strange things going on. It's like, for example, the women hear voices that aren't there, and the guys, they see strange animals running down the halls and stuff, and they're like, okay, what is going on? The thing about that's genius in the book is that Eleanor isn't exactly the most sane person in the world. So for a while, the reader is supposed to think that maybe she's just imagining all of this. And then when the other characters experience some of that stuff too, they're like, okay, maybe she isn't that crazy. But anyway, so over the course of this short book and the week, strange stuff just keeps happening in this house. And Eleanor is further and further losing her mind and stuff. She's like slowly losing her mind. Stuff is just not making sense anymore. And yeah. So anyway, towards the end of the week, Dr. John's wife and a friend come by to also investigate this stuff because they're also paranormal investigators. And so yeah, the wife just gets on Dr. Montague's case about not making a lot of progress and stuff, and then things just kind of go from there. But then later that night, Eleanor decides that she's just losing her mind, so she tries to go to the library for no reason. And then later on, she starts to wake people up with her noises and stuff. So she flees to the roof of the house, which is very, very rickety and old and stuff. So Luke has to climb up there and brave the almost crashing in to go save her. And then, so yeah, that was kind of a strange event that I don't fully understand. But anyway, the next day, because no one speaks of it for the rest of the night, but the next day, everyone decides that it would be better for Eleanor to leave the house because she's either being really drawn into the house or she's causing the house to be haunted or something like that. But Eleanor has become really close to the house. She says she doesn't want to leave, but they basically have to force her to leave. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll leave. But remember, she stole her sister's car to go to Hill House in the first place. So she doesn't want to go back there. She has no place to go. So feeling that she has really nowhere else to go, she decides to, I guess, give her soul to the Hill House or maybe just like go into it at death. So she just drives her car and just speeds it up into a giant oak tree and crashes and dies. Anyway, in the meantime, everybody else leaves Hill House and then talks about their experiences. And that is how The Haunting of Hill House ends. So like I previously said, The Haunting of Hill House is certainly a very odd book. Like, I didn't understand everything that was going on in there, and I don't necessarily think that's the book's fault. I think that's my fault more for being distracted or just zoning out while reading. I tend to do that sometimes, and it's very unfortunate. I have missed some very great parts in some very great books because of that. So anyway, The Haunting of Hill House, it will definitely be a reread in the future. It's not like I missed too much of what's going on, but it's just that I didn't get everything in there. So, similar to Moby Dick and Insomnia and a lot of other books in my TBR, I will have to reread The Haunting of Hill House in the future so that I can get everything that I missed. But anyway, so The Haunting of Hill House, as I said, is a very short book. It is only 182 pages. So yeah, you can get through it very fast. I got through it in 3 days, but you might be able to get through it in a lot less time than that. But anyway, I thought The Haunting of Hill House was just going to be a standard, like, haunted house story, because it certainly seems like the basis for a lot of haunted place stories, like The Shining, as I said, or I guess The Shining, it's on this bookshelf. But yeah, and having read both, I can definitely see a lot of similarities. Someone goes into a place, slowly loses their mind, and has to deal with the repercussions of ghosts in the place. So yeah, I can definitely see how The Shining was maybe inspired by The Haunting of Hill House. But anyway, I thought The Haunting of Hill House was just a fun little tale about a house that's just not quite right, and we don't exactly know what's not quite right about it. All that we know is that there's just something not quite right about it. And the character of Eleanor is very fascinating because it's implied that she's not exactly like fully mentally there when we meet her because she steals her sister's car, and that's not something a normal person would do. But then I like how the house slowly chips away at her mind until the climax where, of course, all that stuff happens. So I just do find it as a really cautionary tale I guess it's not really a cautionary tale, but I do find it interesting as like the house slowly chipping down your mind and stuff. And maybe you're crazy, maybe you're not, maybe it's just the house doing all that stuff. Anyway, so I think the book is really short, really concise, and even though I didn't fully understand it, I do intend to. So I think that if you have a better reading mind than I do, you might be able to understand it faster than I did, certainly. But yeah, overall, The Haunting of Hill House is just a really fun, just really short experience that I think you will really enjoy if you love horror, specifically Shirley Jackson, but any horror will do. Because as you can see by both my bookshelves, I'm quite the horror fan. And yeah, so yeah, go read Haunting of Hill House. It is just very great. And yeah, go read it. I really have no problems with it. But yes, guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if I seemed like a little ranty and I just like didn't really know what I was saying and stuff, that's because I never script these videos. I just want my thoughts to be just natural and whatever, and I think a script would run that. So if I just came off as like repeating myself or just saying gibberish, I do apologize. That's my bad. But anyway, regardless of that, I hope you guys definitely enjoyed this video. Be sure to like the video down below if you have not, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. We are on the road to 300 subscribers, so please help me out by pressing that subscribe button. But anyway, remember... Did any of you guys hear that? Whoa. What's this? What's the shaking? Oh no, I gotta get out of here. I'm sorry guys, I gotta get out of here.